Have you, or someone you love, ever had to get up in the middle of the night? Not once, not twice, but 3 or even 5 times just to go to the bathroom? You're lying in bed, warm, maybe just drifting off, and there is again that urge, that pressure. The need to get up, and you think, well, this is just part of getting older, right? Maybe you've said it yourself. This old bladder of mine. Or maybe you've heard a parent or grandparent laugh it off, say, I guess I just have a tiny tank these days. But what if it's not just aging? What if your body is trying to tell you something? Because here's the truth, friend, getting up once a night, that could be normal. But 2, 3, 5 times every night, that's not just an inconvenience. That's not just getting older. That might be a warning sign. And I know, it's easy to ignore. It's not painful, it doesn't seem urgent, and life keeps moving. But behind that nightly bathroom trip could be something deeper going on. Something that, if caught early, might save you or someone you love from a whole world of discomfort, fear, or worse. See, this isn't just about lost sleep. It's about heart health, kidney health, blood sugar, even how your brain is working. And I'm here to tell you, if you catch the signs early, you can do something about it. Because nocturia, that's the fancy word doctors use, can be a whisper, a gentle knock on the door. And if you're listening, you might just hear your body or your loved one's body asking for help. So in this video, we're going deep. We're talking about 5 lesser-known causes of nighttime urination in seniors. Some of these might sound familiar. Others, you may have never heard of. But by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to look out for and what you can do starting today. Now, I want you to take a second and think about someone you care about. Maybe it's your mom, your dad, maybe it's you. And I want you to ask, are they really okay? Or are they quietly struggling night after night, losing rest, losing strength, just trying to get through the dark? If that touches something in you, if you're here because you care, then I want you to do something real quick. Comment "I'm here" down below. Let me know you're watching, you're listening, and you're looking out for someone you love. And while you're here, subscribe to Elderlycare, because this channel is all about making sure our elders live with the health, the peace, and the dignity they deserve. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with something most people overlook, even when it's staring them right in the face. Medications. Margaret was 78, lively, sharp, still gardening in spring. But after a minor heart scare, her doctor prescribed her a new medication for her blood pressure. Just a little adjustment, nothing dramatic. Except the next week, something changed. She was waking up every 2 hours. Not because she was anxious, not because she was restless. She just had to pee, constantly, all through the night. It seemed harmless at first, maybe even expected. But deep down, Margaret was exhausted. She didn't say much about it, just smiled and carried on, like many seniors do. But what her family didn't realize is that the pill she took each morning wasn't just controlling her blood pressure. It was also a diuretic. That means it helps the body shed salt and water, flush it out through urine. It's a normal part of managing certain conditions. The catch? If it's taken at the wrong time, say later in the day, it can keep the bladder working overtime all night. Even if you don't drink more water, even if you're trying to stay hydrated the right way. And here's the part most families miss. They assume it's water intake. She must be drinking too much tea before bed. Maybe she's sneaking juice after dinner again. They mean well, but it's not always about what you drink. It's about how your body handles it. For seniors, especially those on medication, your system isn't as fast as it used to be. It can take hours for your kidneys and bladder to react to that little pill. And when it does, it could be right at midnight, then again at 2, then again at 4. And here's the good news. This is one of the easiest things to fix if you know what to ask. You don't need to stop the medication. You don't need to panic. But what you can do is ask the doctor if it's possible to shift the timing. Could the dose be taken earlier? Could there be a slow-release version? Could it even be the wrong match for that person? These are small conversations, but they can mean everything when someone's quality of sleep is on the line. Because let's be honest, when an older person is waking up 5 times a night, it doesn't just affect their sleep. It affects their balance, their cognition, their mood, their risk of falling. One small pill can quietly unravel so much. But medications? They're just one part of the puzzle. Let's look at another piece now, one that hides in plain sight and touches millions of seniors every single day. Blood sugar. Let me tell you about George. George was 81, retired carpenter, quiet guy, never liked to fuss. He'd say things like, "I'm fine, just getting older." He'd been waking up to pee more often, at first once, then 2 or 3 times a night. Didn't think much of it. He figured, well, this is just what happens when you hit your 80s. But then his daughter noticed something else. He seemed a little more tired than usual. Not exhausted, just not himself. He started asking for water more often. He'd finish a glass and ask for another a few minutes later. Again, nothing dramatic. Nothing that screamed urgent. But something fell off. They went in for a routine checkup. And almost as an afterthought, the doctor added a blood sugar test. The result? Undiagnosed type 2 diabetes. No weight loss. No wounds that wouldn't heal. None of the textbook signs people think of. Just quiet, creeping changes, and all along his body had been giving subtle clues. One of the first? That increase in nighttime urination. Here's what happens. When blood sugar gets too high, your body tries to flush it out. Literally. The kidneys kick into overdrive, pulling extra sugar from the blood and filtering it through the urine. And when that happens, water gets dragged along with it, which means you have to pee. A lot. Especially at night when your body is at rest and trying to stabilize. And here's the tricky part. This might be the very first noticeable sign, long before the other symptoms, long before anything feels wrong. But because George was older and because everyone just assumed it was normal aging, it almost went unnoticed. And that's the danger. We assume things are harmless until they're not. We say, well, Dad's just not as young as he used to be. But we forget that aging isn't the only thing changing behind the scenes. Now here's where you come in. If you or someone you love has suddenly started waking up to pee more than usual, and if that's paired with fatigue, dry mouth, or thirst, don't wait. It doesn't mean it is diabetes, but it's enough of a reason to check. A simple blood test. That's all it takes. And if it is caught early, there's so much you can do. Lifestyle changes, gentle medications, monitoring, support, and most importantly, sleep, real sleep, restful, healing sleep that restores both body and mind. And even if it's not diabetes, there's peace in knowing. Because George's story isn't rare. It's happening in homes all around us, quietly, softly, while the world keeps moving. But not every case of frequent urination at night is tied to medication or blood sugar. Even someone healthy, someone without diabetes, can be struggling with this. And the reason might be something you'd never expect. Let's talk about that next. Let's talk about breathing. Let me introduce you to Eleanor. Eleanor was 74, sharp as a tack, full of stories, always baking something. But she had this one complaint she couldn't shake. I just can't stay asleep. I'm always waking up to pee. It didn't matter what time she went to bed. Didn't matter how much or how little she drank before sleep. Every night, like clockwork, she was waking 2, 3 times, dragging herself out of bed, tiptoeing to the bathroom in the dark. She thought it was her bladder. Her family thought so too. They even got her one of those night lights that glows soft in the hallway, just to help with the trips. But one day, during a regular checkup, her doctor asked a simple question. Do you snore? Eleanor paused. Well, my daughter says I do. Loud sometimes. That led to another question, and then another, until the doctor suggested a sleep study. Eleanor was skeptical. What does my breathing have to do with how often I pee? But they did the test, and it revealed something no one expected. Sleep apnea. Now here's where it gets interesting. When someone has sleep apnea, their breathing stops and starts during the night. Sometimes just for a few seconds, sometimes for much longer. Each time the brain senses the drop in oxygen, it jolts the body awake, even if the person doesn't fully realize it. And here's the part most people never hear about. Every time that happens, the heart gets stressed. It releases a hormone called atrial natriuretic peptide. A mouthful, I know. But what it does is tell the kidneys to make more urine. It's like your body is saying, too much pressure. Let's get rid of some fluid. So you wake up, you feel that urge, and you assume it's your bladder. But it's not the bladder, it's the breathing. Most people think sleep apnea is just snoring, just noisy nights. But it's so much more. It's fatigue. It's memory issues. It's heart strain. And yes, it's frequent trips to the bathroom at night. If someone you love snores or seems unusually tired during the day, if they wake up confused or feel like they haven't slept even after 8 hours, if they're peeing more at night with no clear reason, it's worth asking their doctor about a sleep test, not just to help them sleep better, but to protect their heart, their energy, their peace of mind. Because what Eleanor learned changed everything. Once her sleep apnea was treated, the nighttime bathroom trips dropped to 1, sometimes none. She woke up rested, smiling, back to baking before sunrise like she used to. Sleep is powerful, and when it's broken, when the body's rhythms are interrupted, everything starts to fall out of sync. But sleep is just one part of the story. There's another organ we need to talk about now, one that works quietly in the background until it doesn't. Let's talk about the kidneys. Becomes frequent. Now, let's talk about something a little quieter. Something that doesn't show up in pain or fever or visible distress. Something that works silently night after night until it starts to slip. Frank was 76. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, walked every morning. His blood pressure? Normal. Cholesterol? Managed. To most people, he looked like the picture of senior health. But Frank had a problem. He was waking up every single hour to pee. Not twice. Not 3 times. Every hour. He felt drained, worn out, and his sleep completely shattered. At first, no one thought it was serious. His wife figured he was just drinking too much tea in the evening. His son joked, "Welcome to the club, Dad. That's just what happens." But deep down, Frank knew something wasn't right. He wasn't drinking more than usual. He wasn't on any new medications, and he'd never had issues like this before. Then, during a regular visit, his doctor decided to run a few extra labs, just to be sure. And that's when they saw it. His kidney function had started to decline. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, but it was clear. Frank was in the early stages of chronic kidney disease. Now here's the part that matters most for you to hear. The kidneys are responsible for so much more than we give them credit for. They filter waste. They balance fluids. They regulate electrolytes. They even help control blood pressure. But when they begin to falter, especially in older adults, the symptoms aren't loud. They're not dramatic. They're subtle, whispering. One of the very first signs? Increased urination at night. Why? Because as kidney function declines, the body becomes less efficient at concentrating urine. That means more fluid gets passed through, and more often, especially while the body is at rest. You might hear people say, "But he seems fine." And that's the trap. He's eating well. He's active. It can't be his kidneys. But kidney disease doesn't always show itself in appetite or movement, at least not right away. It often shows up in the bathroom first. In sleep, lost. In energy, fading. In peace, disrupted. And that's why it's worth asking. A simple blood test. Creatinine. EGFR. It's not invasive. It's not painful, but it gives you answers. Clarity. A direction. Because if you catch kidney issues early, there's so much you can do to slow them down. Adjustments in diet, medications, monitoring, and more importantly, restoring sleep, preserving independence, protecting the dignity every elder deserves. Frank didn't need dialysis, didn't need any major intervention, but what he needed was a little awareness. And that awareness gave him years of better nights. But we're not done, because sometimes the cause of all this isn't an illness, isn't a disease. It's not even in the blood or the kidneys or the lungs. Sometimes it's in the rhythm of our habits, the little things we do without thinking. Let's talk about that next. Let's talk about the evening routine. Now let's bring this home. Because sometimes it's not a disease, not a medication, not blood sugar. Sometimes the reason we, or someone we love, is waking up all night is right there in the daily routine. Teresa, 82, was one of those people who had a beautiful ritual. Every evening, like clockwork, she'd brew a cup of tea, settle in her favorite chair, and watch the evening news. It gave her peace, gave her rhythm. She looked forward to it. But every night, without fail, she'd be up at 3 a.m., then again at 4:30. And by morning, she felt like she hadn't slept at all. She didn't think much of the tea. It was herbal, light, not even that much, really. And she'd say, "It's not like I'm drinking soda or anything." But here's what no one had told her. Caffeine, even in small amounts, can linger in the system longer than most people think. For some, especially as we age, even decaf or green tea can gently irritate the bladder. Not enough to hurt, not enough to notice, until you're awake and walking down the hall. Again, and it's not just tea. A glass of wine with dinner, that warm bowl of soup late at night, even brothy meals or juicy fruits, if taken too close to bedtime, can quietly flood the system and nudge the bladder into nighttime overdrive. This isn't about guilt or shame. These are comforting habits, familiar ones, but they matter because the older we get, the more sensitive the body becomes to timing. It's not always what you drink or eat, but when. That cup of tea at 7 p.m. might still be working its way through your system at midnight. That glass of water with your pills could become a 2 a.m. wake-up call. Many seniors say, "But I don't drink much at night." And that might be true. But if your biggest fluids come after 5 or 6 p.m., your bladder doesn't forget. Here's the good news. You don't need to stop enjoying the things you love. You just need to adjust the clock a little. Try moving that evening tea to late afternoon. Have your soup earlier. Ease off fluids slowly after 6 p.m., not to dehydrate, but to shift the pressure off the nighttime hours. It's a small change, but for many, it makes a world of difference. Less waking, more rest, a calmer night, a clearer morning, because sleep in the later years is precious. It's not just about feeling rested. It's about keeping balance, memory, mood, even your heart and immune system in check. And when you or your loved one is sleeping through the night, without interruptions, without the drag of constant bathroom trips, that peace adds years to life and life to years. Now that we've seen the hidden causes, from medications to metabolism, sugar to sleep, kidneys to tea, let's talk about what this all really means. Let's talk about the bigger picture. For families, for caregivers, for everyone who's walking this journey with someone they love. It's hard, isn't it? Watching someone you love, someone who once moved with such ease, such strength, struggle now just to get through the night without interruption. It's painful to see them lose sleep, to watch them shuffle back and forth from bed to bathroom, to hear their voice in the morning, tired, a little dazed, saying, "I just couldn't stay asleep again." And it's not just the sleep, it's what it represents. Because for so many families, nighttime becomes a mirror, a place where we see our loved ones slowly change. Where the little things, waking up more often, losing balance in the dark, forgetting what woke them, begin to stack up. And if you're like most people, you've probably felt that twinge of helplessness, that sinking feeling of, what can I even do? Because you're not a doctor. You're just someone who loves them, someone trying to do your best. But here's what I want you to hold on to. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to have every answer. You just need to notice. Because now you do know something. You know that medications, blood sugar, breathing, kidneys, and habits, they all play a role. You know what to watch for. And more importantly, you know what questions to ask. You're not helpless anymore. You're aware. And that awareness, that's what turns love into care. That's what turns concern into action. So tonight, take a quiet moment. Look gently, without judgment. If your loved one is still up late, ask softly, "Did you sleep okay last night?" If they seem tired in the morning, don't just chalk it up to age. Ask, "Were you up a lot?" And then listen, not to fix, not to diagnose, just to understand. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply pay attention. And if you see something that feels off, just one of these signs, don't ignore it. Talk to a doctor. Write down what you notice. Ask about medications. Ask about sleep. Ask about testing. Because every small question you ask, every little shift you make in their routine, every time you advocate for them, even just a little, you're giving them more than just better nights. You're giving them dignity. You're giving them peace. You're giving them a sense of being seen. And that matters. It matters more than you may ever know. Because in the end, this isn't about managing symptoms. It's about preserving quality of life, protecting what's left of their independence, and making sure that every day and every night feels just a little bit safer, softer, and more manageable. So hold on to that hope, because no matter how small it seems, your care, your awareness, It is enough to make a difference. So let's take a moment to gather everything we've learned together. When a senior is waking up often during the night to use the bathroom, it's easy to brush it off, to say it's just part of aging. But tonight, you know better. To recap, there are 5 often overlooked causes of frequent nighttime urination. First, medications, especially diuretics, can quietly push the bladder to work overtime if taken too late in the day. Second, undiagnosed diabetes, where high blood sugar pulls fluid into the bladder without anyone realizing it's the first warning sign. Third, sleep apnea, where breathing interruptions at night actually trigger the body to make more urine. Fourth, declining kidney function, where the body starts to lose its ability to filter and concentrate urine, especially at night. And fifth, our evening habits, the teas, the soups, the routines we love that can unknowingly disrupt sleep. 5 quiet clues, 5 reasons to pause, 5 chances to step in before something bigger unfolds. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these signs in someone you care about? Which one surprised you the most? Which one made you stop and think, wait, maybe that's what's been happening? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one because this isn't just about sharing information. It's about building understanding together. And if you found this video helpful, if it made you feel more confident, more equipped to care for someone you love, then I invite you to subscribe to Elderly Care. Every week, we bring you honest, compassionate insights about aging, health, and how to support the people who matter most. No fear, no pressure, just real talk from the heart. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And most of all, thank you for caring. Stay strong, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.